Hello and welcome to Building a Scene. If you're not familiar, I'm Matt Sieber and this is where I talk about things within the music industry that I feel can be improved. Today I'm going to talk about a new idea I had to sell music on the internet. I first started thinking about ways to improve the online music market after hearing an interview from Muskerplug on Fearless Radio back in June. Essentially what was said is that the band went from selling over 150,000 copies of their album released in 1997 to barely breaking over 10,000 copies sold for subsequent releases. The main reason cited for this discrepancy is the advent of internet piracy in 1999. People just don't buy music anymore when it's available for free at the click of a button. So my challenge was trying to find a way to incentivize people to buy music while trumping the impulse to just get it for free. And I think I found the answer when reading about a recent contest won by Sandy Pentland in the MIT Media Lab. The contest they won was sponsored by Darpa, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Essentially the contest went like this. Darpa hid 10 giant red weather balloons in random places in the United States and threw the gauntlet down for these research groups to find their locations using only social media like Facebook and Twitter. Pentland's group found all 10 balloons in 8 hours and 52 minutes using what they call a recursive incentive mechanism, which works like this. Before the challenge even began, they enrolled people in their various networks using Facebook and Twitter. Let's say this Alpha 1 is the first person enrolled. They then asked them to recruit other people into the network. So here, Alpha 1 recruited Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and Alpha 4. These people then went on to recruit a bunch of other people, and eventually getting all the way up to Alpha 8. Now, the way they did this is they incentivized it so that if anybody in the network found a balloon, all the people involved in the recruitment chain would get paid. Let's say that person Alpha 8 found a balloon. In Pentland's recursive incentive mechanism, they would get $2,000. But also, the person that recruited them would get half of that. So Alpha 6 would get $1,000. And the person that recruited Alpha 6 would get half of that, $500. And additionally, the first person in the chain would also get half of that, $250. This built up a huge incentive to recruit as many people as possible and maximize the probability of being close to the balloon and getting a ton of money. It's a pretty ingenious idea, even though it's constrained by the initial amount of money that you can reward. So I thought it'd be cool to tweak this mechanism and use it to boost CD sales. Except instead of finding balloons, the event that we're interested in is selling CDs. Let me show you how this could work using the same network as before. Our model will be a little bit different though. Instead of a passive recruitment process, people will only be added to the network if they buy a CD, and they will only make money if they recruit other people to buy the same CD. So let's say person Alpha 1 is the first person to buy the CD. Alpha 1 then recommends the album to 3 friends who all buy the CD as well. In this example, I've set aside $5 from each CD sale that can go back to paying the person involved in the recruiting process. For every person that buys the album directly because of Alpha 1, Alpha 1 gets $2.50. So you can see, now Alpha 1 is only down $2.50, and the new 3 people who just bought the CD are out $10. Let's say that a few of the new people also recruit friends to buy the CD. Alpha 2 recruits Alpha 5 and Alpha 6, and Alpha 4 recruits Alpha 7. For each of these new purchases, Alpha 2 gets $2.50 from Alpha 5 and Alpha 6, and Alpha 4 gets $2.50 from the CD that Alpha 7 bought. However, Alpha 1 also gets money from these downstream sales. The way the model is currently set up, Alpha 1 would get $1.25 from every person that bought the album from a person that Alpha 1 recruited to buy the album. If we update the totals, we can now see that after 3 rounds of sales, Alpha 1 has made $1.25 from buying the album, Alpha 2 is only out $5, Alpha 4 is only out $7.50, and the rest of the people who bought the album are still down $10 but have a perfectly good CD. Let's propagate the example a little bit further and say that Alpha 6 recruits Alpha 8 to buy the CD. As before, Alpha 6 gains $2.50 from getting a sale. Alpha 2 gets a residual $1.25 from recruiting Alpha 6, who recruited Alpha 8 to buy the CD. Alpha 1 then gets an additional 62 cents for recruiting Alpha 2, who recruited Alpha 6, who recruited Alpha 8. If we stop the simulation here and update the totals, you can already see the potential to make a ton of money just by buying a CD. I've decided to stop the model from generating income for an individual after 6 sales due to the 6 degrees of separation theory. This is more than enough for an individual to make back their money and a little bit more when they buy their CD and promote properly. This method provides incentive for your fans to become your own personal sales force. which can be used to grow and expand your social network online. You can even tether it to something like Facebook and make it so that people can only earn money if they like you. Additionally, other groups that have a huge number of primary contacts, such as other bands on Facebook, have a large incentive to promote your album for you since they can glean a fair amount of money for themselves. The best part about all of this is that the artist makes about $5 off of each $10 CD sold no matter what, which is far better than the alternative of having every album pirated and no money made whatsoever. I've linked to a model in the comments below made in Excel where you can mess around with these numbers and see the results for yourself. If you're in a band or own a label and would like to try out this model, send me an email. You can find my contact information in the comments below. Thank you for watching, but that's all I have to say on this topic for the time being. I'm Matt Siever, and this has been Building a Scene. What's the cause?